In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create this interactive drop-down menu using Figma variables. Well, to create this drop-down menu, we need three main elements. We need the item, which is going to be each of these rows like Poland, Germany, Spain, France. Then we need the item list, which includes all these items, as you can see here. And finally, we need the drop-down menu itself. The first thing we need to do is create our variables. Here, as you can see, I already prepared these flags. You can download them using the link in the description, but for now, we are not going to need them. First, let's click somewhere here and just head over to local variables. And from here, I'm going to create a new variable. Well, what kind of variable do we need? We need a few color variables for our colors and also a few string variables for our items. Okay, so I'm going to start by creating our color variables. Let's click on color. And here I'm going to name it primary, which is going to be our primary color, and it's going to be white, so I'm not going to change the value. Then I'm going to create another color variable, and this time I'm going to name it hover. This color is going to be used for our hover state, and I'm going to make it a bit darker, something like this. Okay, we can always come back and adjust it if we need to. And we need one more color variable, which is going to be our neutral color. We are going to use this color for our arrow icon and also for our text. So I'm going to name it neutral. And I'm going to paste the hex color code that I already prepared. There it is. So now that our color variables are ready, it's time to move on and create our string variables. So here I'm going to create a string variable and I'm going to name it option1. You can call it item1 as well. That doesn't matter. I'm just going to call it option1. And the value is going to be our country name. So here I'm going to call it Poland. There it is. Now I'm going to right click on this variable, duplicate it. It's going to be option 2. And I'm just going to change the value to Spain. Let's right click, duplicate it. This one is going to be Germany. And once again, duplicate it and just change it to France. Obviously, you can create as many options as you want, but for this example, I'm just going to go with these 4 options. But we are not done. We need one more string variable. I'm going to create another string variable, and this time I'm going to name it selected option. And here for the value, I'm just going to type select a country. Perfect, our variables are ready. Later we will create a few more variables for these flags, but for now we have everything we need. We just need to organize our variables quickly. I'm just gonna select this first primary color, hold down the shift key on my keyboard, click on neutral to select these 3 colors, right click here and click on new group with selection, just like that, to create a new group. And I'm just gonna name this group colors. Let's go to all variables. This time I'm going to select these string variables, right click, new group with selection, and I'm going to name it options. All right, perfect. Now that our variables are ready, it's time to start creating our item. For our item, I'm just going to hit T on my keyboard, create a text layer, and I'm just going to call it option. I'm going to change the font size to 16 like this. And then I'm going to hit Shift and A to add auto layout to this text, like that. As you can see, now we have an auto layout frame, and I'm just going to name it option. Let me zoom in a bit. Here, what I'm going to do is change the spacing in the auto layout section. So here, I'm going to set the vertical padding to 8 and the horizontal padding to 16. Just like that. And also I'm going to have a fixed width option. Okay, here as you can see it's set to hug, but I'm going to set its width to 230 and just align the text to the left. Now what we need to do is add a background to this frame. So while this frame is selected, I'm going to add a fill to it like this. It's going to be white, but we are going to use our variable, the one that we just created. So here I'm going to click on this option like this. And from our color variables, I'm going to choose primary, which is going to be this one. Now I'm going to select our text and just change its color to neutral. Okay, perfect. There is one more thing we need to do, and that is increasing the corner radius. While this frame is selected, I'm going to change it to 8 to make it rounded, and our item is ready. Now what we need to do is turn this item into a component. So while it's selected, I'm going to click on this little icon to create a component, and now we can start creating our list. But wait a second, you might ask, what happened to the flag? Well, first, I'm going to show you how to create a simple drop-down menu, and then we will take it to the next level by adding the flag and dynamically change the flag. But it's a bit more advanced, so that's why I'm going to separate these two things. Okay, now that our option component is ready, let's move on to our list. For the list, I'm just going to select this option, duplicate it, hit Ctrl D or Command D to create an instance of it. Like this. This is going to be an instance of this component. Make sure to select the instance, not the master component. It's so important. This icon indicates that this is an instance of this component. Now I'm going to duplicate this instance once again. Hit Ctrl D or Command D. Bring it down like this. Select them both. And now we need to put them inside an auto layout frame. So while both of them are selected, hit Shift and A like that. And I'm going to name this list. Let's select this option, duplicate it 2 more times. All right, great. Now I'm going to select this list, add a background to it. Again, I'm going to choose primary like that, and just increase the corner radius to 8. Okay, now it's time to link our text to our string variables. So what I'm going to do is select this first text layer in this first option, head over to the text section, and from here you can find this little icon which says apply variable. I'm going to click on it, and here you'll see all the string variables that we created. I'm going to link the first one to option 1 like this. Then I'm going to select the second one, link it to option 2, and I'm going to repeat the same process like that. All right, so far so good. Now I'm going to turn this list into a component. So I'm going to select it, turn it into a component. So we have an option component, a list component. However, this option doesn't have a hover state yet. So now we are going to create a component set with 2 variables inside and make a hover state for this option as well. So I'm going to select this option component, click on this little icon to add a variant to it, just like that. And I'm going to select this option component set, head over to the properties section. I'm going to rename this property to state like this. Now I'm going to select the first variant. As you can see, the state is set to default. I'm not going to change it. I'm going to select the second one and change the state to hover like that. And what we need to do is head over to the field section and just change its color to hover like this. Now let's select this first variant, head over to the prototype tab and just connect these two. And here I'm going to change the trigger from on click to while hovering. The animation is going to be smart animate, and I'm not going to change anything else. And now our option has 2 states, default and hover. So if I go ahead and create a frame here and just go to assets, create an instance of our list and put it right here. Let's see whether our states work or not. There it is. As you can see, our hover state works perfectly. All right, great. Now that our list is ready, let's move on to the next step and create our drop-down menu. For the drop-down menu, what I'm going to do is create an instance of this option like this. Then I'm going to head over to this section, click on this little icon, instance options, and just detach the instance. So it's no longer connected to this component. It's just a simple element. All right, here what I'm going to do is select this text layer and just link it to our string variable, this one, selected option. We also need an arrow icon. I already downloaded the icon from the Icon Oil website. There it is. I'm just going to place it inside like that. But we need to do one more thing. If we leave it as is, every time we change this text, for example, if I change this text to Poland, the position of this icon changes accordingly. And that's not what we want. We want to make sure that this arrow icon stays on the right side all the time. So what we can do is select this drop-down menu frame, head over to the auto layout section, and from here I'm going to change the spacing mode to auto, and this icon will always stay on the right side of this drop-down menu, as you can see. And that's exactly what we need. All right, our drop-down menu is also ready. Now we need to turn it into a component like this, and I'm going to create a component set by adding a variant to it. So here again, I'm going to select the drop-down menu component set, change the property to state Next, I'm going to select this first one, the default one, and change the value of this state property to closed. Now I'm going to select this second one and change the value of this state property to opened. And also we need to rotate this arrow icon for this opened variant, right? There are two ways to do that. You might say that we can just right click on it and just flip it vertically like this. It works if you don't want to animate these two icons when we try to open and close this drop-down menu. Since we want to animate it, I'm going to undo it. We need to rotate it here by 180 degrees. Okay, so I'm just going to type here 180. And later when we try to use the smart animate option, this arrow icon will be animated. All right, now I'm going to enlarge this drop-down menu component set like this. And what we need to do is go to the Assets tab. And from here, I'm going to drag and drop an instance of this list component like this. I'm going to hit Control X or Command X to cut it. Then I'm going to select this open variant and paste it inside. Hit Control V or Command V. And as soon as I do that, as you can see, everything will be messed up. But don't worry, we are going to fix it. While this list is selected, I'm going to head over to the frame section and I'm going to click on this little icon which says absolute position. When you click on this icon like this list element will no longer take up space. It's still inside this frame. As you can see, it's still inside this open variant, but it's not taking up any space, and that's exactly what we need. Now we need to move it down a bit, but here is a very important point to keep in mind. When you try to move it down like this, you might accidentally put this list outside this drop-down menu. Okay, this is a very common mistake. Make sure to pay enough attention to it. So I'm gonna undo it, and what I'm gonna do is align it to the center like this, while this list is inside this open variant. And using the arrow keys on my keyboard, I'm going to move it down like that. And I'm going to make sure that I maintain an 8 pixel margin between these two elements. I'm going to move it down like this. If you want to check the padding and margin, you can just hold down the Option or Alt key on your keyboard and just hover your mouse over these elements like this. All right, so far so good. Now we need to connect these two variants. So I'm going to select this closed one, head over to Prototype, connect it to this open one. The trigger is going to be on click. Smart animate is fine. I'm going to select this second one and just connect it back to our closed variant like that. Again, everything looks fine. Before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to introduce our today's sponsor, BeamJobs. BeamJobs is one of the top resume builders out there with over 2 million resumes created in the last 3 years. If you're on the hunt for your dream job, BeamJobs is here to make that journey a whole lot easier. Candidates who have used BeamJobs to craft their resumes have gone on to land positions at some of the biggest companies out there, like Google, Meta, and Stripe. Whether you're starting from scratch or fine-tuning an existing resume, BeamJobs has got you covered. You can either choose from a variety of templates and customize them, or upload your own resume and BeamJobs will analyze it using AI and give it a score to ensure your resume stands out from the crowd and lands you more interviews. So if you're ready to take your career to the next level, head over to BeamJobs using the link in the description and give it a try. Now let's go ahead and check it out and see whether everything works or not. So I'm just gonna draw a frame here, and I'm going to go to Assets, and from here I'm going to drag and drop an instance of this drop down menu that we just created, and let's preview it. Maybe I can change the background color a bit. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to click on this drop down menu. As you can see, this arrow icon is animated, and that's exactly what we need. And here we have our list, and the hover state works as well. So now what happens if I click on any of these options? Nothing, you see? So it's time to make these options interactive as well. So if I click on this first one, for instance, Poland, what should happen? Well, first we need to change this placeholder text, this select a country text layer, to Poland. And also we need to close this drop-down menu. Okay, so there are two things we need to do. Well, to do that, I'm going to select this first option. I'm going to head over to Prototype, and here I'm going to create an interaction like this. The trigger is going to be on click, and from this drop-down menu, I am going to choose set variable. These two options, set variable and conditional, are available to paid users only, so keep that in mind. I'm going to click on set variable like that. And here we are going to select the variable that we are going to change, which is going to be this select a country variable, okay? Which is going to be this one, selected option. So I'm going to select it. And now it says to write expression. So here we need to decide what we need to change this variable to, which is going to be Poland option 1. So I'm going to select option 1. And the other thing we need to do is close this drop down menu, right? So I'm going to click on this little icon, add action, then choose change to. And here we are going to change the state from opened to closed. And the animation is going to be smart animate like that. Okay, I hope it makes sense. Now we need to repeat the same thing for all these options. So I'm going to select this second one. Make sure not to select the text itself, the option, this frame, and just add an interaction on click. It's going to be set variable and it's going to be selected option to option 2, and also change the state to closed, and it's going to be smart animate like that. And I'm going to do it for Germany as well. I'm going to fast forward this process. All right, we are done. Let's go ahead and check it out and see whether it works or not. I'm going to select it and just preview it. Let's open up this drop down menu. I'm going to click on Poland, and that's exactly what we needed. So this was our basic drop down menu. Now let's take it to the next level by adding the flag to these options as well. All right, the first thing we need to do is select these flags. Let me just bring them out here, and we need to turn them into components. So while all of them are selected, I'm going to click on this little icon and click on create component set, just like this. I'm going to rename this component set to flag. And while this flag component set is selected, let's go ahead and rename this property to flag as well. And inside we have 4 variants, and the name of these variants matters. It's so important. So here we have PL, here we have ES, here we have FR, and here we have DE. It's so important. The spelling is so important. So keep that in mind, because later we are going to dynamically change these flags. Let's go ahead and just create an instance of this flag component and just put it inside our option here. Okay, and now I'm going to select this option frame and just set the spacing mode to auto to push it to the right. Now let's select it, copy it, and paste it here. And just repeat the same thing for the hover state. I'm going to change the spacing mode to auto, like that. Now I'm going to select this flag here for this Spain option and just change the variant to ES. Let's do the same thing for Germany and for France, like this. But what about our drop-down menus? We need to have this flag in both of these drop-down menus as well. So I'm going to select this first one, copy it, and paste it inside. And using the arrow keys on my keyboard, I'm going to move it to the left, like this. Then we need to group these two elements. So the flag and this text layer, I'm going to select them both, hit Shift and A to add auto layout to them. And that's because we want to change the spacing between them. I'm going to change it to 8. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing for this drop down menu. I'm just going to copy this flag, paste it here, move it to the left, select these two, hit Shift and A, and just change the spacing to 8. Now you might think that why do we need this flag inside this first variant? Because before we select any of these options, we shouldn't be able to see the flag, right? Yes, you're right. That's why we need to figure out a way to hide this flag before we select any of these options. To do that, we need a variable. So now I'm just going to go to local variables, and I'm going to create 2 more variables, okay? I'm going to create a string variable. I'm going to name it flag. And for the value, I'm going to type PL, the abbreviation for any of these countries, okay? So here, if I head over to my flag component set, as you can see, they are named PL, ES, DE, FR, right? That's why I said the value of these variants matters, because we are going to change it dynamically later. Okay, then we need another variable, and this time it's going to be a Boolean variable, this one. I'm going to call it show flag, like this. And by default, I'm going to set the value to false. Now let's go ahead and use these two variables. First, I'm going to select this flag here, head over to the layer section, and from here, I'm going to right click on this eye icon. And as soon as I do that, it shows me this show flag Boolean variable that we just created. So I'm going to connect this layer property to this variable. And as you can see, it's no longer visible. That's because the default value of this Boolean variable is set to false. If I set it to true, you can see that it's now visible. Okay? And we are going to do the same thing for this flag as well. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how you can connect your variants to a variable, okay? To be able to dynamically change your variant based on the value of your variable. It may sound complicated, but believe me, it's so simple. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to select this flag and I'm going to head over to this flag section. As you can see here, we have the list of our variants, but if we want to dynamically change these flags, we need to connect it to a variable. So I'm going to click on this little icon, assign variable, and I'm going to assign it to our flag variable, just like this. And nothing changed. Why? Because here, if I go to local variables, the default value is set to PL. If I change this to ES, for instance, look what happens. There it is. The flag has been changed. If I change it to FR, the flag will be changed. Okay? It's so interesting, isn't it? Now, I'm going to select the flag and I'm going to go to the layer section and just right click here and just connect it to our show flag variable to hide it. And there is one more thing we need to do. We need to select each of these options and we need to add another action to this interaction. So when we click on it, apart from these actions, we need to do two more things. First, we need to unhide the flag inside this drop-down menu. And second, we need to change the variable's value to the relevant country. So for the first one, the value should be PL. For the second one, the value should be ES, and so on. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to add another action here and I'm going to click on set variable. And this time I'm going to choose show flag and I'm going to set it to true. So this way we can unhide it once we click on this first option. Okay, that's the first one. I'm going to add another action, set variable. This time I'm going to choose this flag variable and we need to set the value to PL. I know by default it's set to PL. So for this first option, it doesn't matter whether you set the variable to PL or not, but I'm just going to show you how it works. So here I'm going to type quotation marks. It's so important, otherwise it won't work. And between these quotation marks, I'm going to type PL with capital letters, and you might think that we are done, but we aren't, because the order of these actions matters. Here, as you can see, we set the variable, then we change the state to closed. But what we need to do is move these actions above this change to action like this. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and give it a try and see whether everything works or not. So I'm just going to select this frame, preview it. Let's open it up. Let's click on Poland. There we go. As you can see, the text has been changed. The flag is now visible and also it's set to the correct flag. Now we need to repeat the same thing for the other options. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to create another action, set variable, flag. I'm going to type quotation marks and in between I'm going to type ES using capital letters and then I'm going to move it up. Also, let's add another variable, show flag, set it to true like this and just move it up. And let's do it for Germany as well. I'm going to fast forward this process now. All right, it's done. Now let's give it a try once again. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to choose Poland. Perfect. Spain. Okay, so here we have a problem. I'm going to show you how to fix it. The reason we face that issue is because if I select this flag inside this closed variant, we didn't connect it to our flag string variable. So here, if I go to this flag section and I just connect it to this flag string variable, now the problem should be solved. Let's give it a try once again. I'm going to change it to Poland. Then I'm going to change it to Spain. There it is. It works perfectly. If you want to learn how to make your design responsive using Figma variables, make sure to check out this video on the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more design tutorials. Have a beautiful day and see you next time.